morning, everyone. First, I will ask you if everyone can hear me. Okay, perfect. So, firstly, I would like to thank the organizers for this opportunity. My name is Diana, and I will be presenting Smart City concept as a catalyst for change, unveiling its potential for transforming informal settlements in Addis Ababa. Thank you. So firstly, I would like to start by sharing my motivation. I am first-year PhD student, and in parallel, I work for the United Nations Children's Fund, known as UNICEF. Over the past 2 years, I have met with marginalized and displaced communities across the country of Ethiopia. Most of them had one very similar complaint: insufficient infrastructure where they live. Therefore, I decided to pursue my PhD on the topic of informality in the cities to bit more understand what they are basically complaining and what we can do better. So, my presentation is divided into 4 parts. Firstly, a general introduction to the topic and the role of smart cities in evolving informal settlements. The second and third part focuses on a study case in Addis Ababa, and finally, I will have some conclusions. So, smart city concept as a catalyst for evolving informal settlements. Here, I would like to mention that the primer idea of my PhD thesis is that idea of cities being free of informal settlements is a misconception, and this is why I think that. Basically, firstly, 56% of the global population resides in urban areas, and to meet growing demand, cities would need to build 96,000 housing units globally every day. The second reason is that aside from economically motivated migration, the number of people being displaced every year has been growing over the last decade. This year, 2024, the number of people displaced from their homes is equal to the amount in 2023 already. This increase is not only due to the conflicts, but also significantly because of the climate change. In 2021, almost 31 million people had to leave their homes due to the natural disasters. And lastly, there is a huge gap in the funding. So basically, the funding for the development are decreasing. So I'm asking if the informal settlements can be part of the complex solutions. So I will have few questions during the presentation, and maybe when we will have the answer question session, you can also answer these questions. So I believe that informal settlements can be part of the solution. Along with my colleague Peter, we observed that informal settlements are likely to improve informal settlers are likely to improve their dwellings if various conditions are met, such as land ownership, economic stability, and access to services. In this photo, you can see 4 stages of the evolution of informal settlements, from being a refugee camp or camp for internally displaced people to formalized city structure. Even though going through all 4 stages is kind of idealized scenario, there are cases around the world, in Nepal, some dumpling camp, a refugee camp, or a camp in Zatari in Jordan, which went through this development through all 4 phases. On this slide, you can see the development illustrated in the chart. Initially, there is a displacement. Here, there is displacement. And over the time, there is some positive development through all 4 phases. Of course, many informal structures won't go through all 4 phases due to the factors which I call factors of destruction, which can range from natural disasters, conflicts, to the political decisions such as demolition of these informal structures. Nevertheless, this whole process of transformation or evolution usually takes decades, sometimes even 100 years. So my interest lies in how we can catalyze this process to basically improve these informal settlements, how we can speed up the evolution. So I ask, what role can the smart city concept play in catalyzing the evolution of informal settlements? And I'm looking on the study case of Addis Ababa. So here are some facts about the capital of Ethiopia. The population officially estimated is 5.7 million inhabitants. Unofficially, like professionals like architects and urbanists estimated it's 12 to 15 millions of inhabitants. In some areas, the density of the population is almost 49,000 persons per 1 square kilometer. That's usually the areas of the informal settlement, where are the informal settlements. Urbanization rate is 4.7%. It's one of the fastest growing cities in Africa. And land utilization is mostly field crops, then residential. And here I would like to highlight that only 2% of the urban fabric are determined to the education and only 1% to the health. And also what really plays important role in the urban development is that Ethiopia has closed economy, and the land is owned by government. So there is no private entity owning the land. Informal settlements is estimated that approximately 55% of inhabitants live in those informal settlements. And for Ethiopia, they are characterized especially by the multidimensional poverty, what means overcrowding, inadequate housing conditions, and limited access to the essential services. So Addis Ababa decided to inaugurate a Smart City initiative in October 2022 to become modern city of Africa. They also, in parallel, accepted the strategies such as Digital Ethiopia 2025 or AI strategy, which is currently being published. So on the smart city, so on the case study, I'm looking on the two approaches. One is a bit more technology-centered, and the second one is more citizen-centered. So this map of the city center of Addis Ababa showing one of the oldest areas of the town, which was historically home to informal dwellers. However, the area marked in white has been demolished, and the destruction continues outside this boundary to this day. So this is the satellite image from 2009. On this slide, you can see the same map from a few years later, showing the area now empty to create space for a friendship park and a science museum, which is considered as a smart infrastructure. Science museum, this is in the back you can see the science museum. And this is a quote of the article which was written about it after its inauguration. As a part of digital transformation endeavor, the government of Ethiopia has inaugurated a new science museum in the capital city of Addis Ababa. The facility was inaugurated during the Pan-African Conference on Artificial Intelligence 2022 and acclaimed as progress towards envisioning the future of technology in Africa digital transformation. This photo captures the situation before the inauguration briefly, showing an informal settlement in front of the smart infrastructure, hidden by panels, pretending that the informality does not exist. The Science Museum creates a facade of digitalized and smart city. Nevertheless, 2 years after its opening, it remains largely empty, with only an exhibition of planets of the universe, which this is the only exhibition the whole building has. What I have shown you on the previous photos is just a small example. It's marked in red, the area, and the smart and the Science Museum is only this part. Recently, the city has been undergoing dramatic redevelopment called the New Piazza Corridor, stretching from the south to the north of the city. The length is approximately 10.4 meters. This project is displacing thousands of communities from their homes to develop new infrastructure with smart features, such as surveillance. Despite the project's promises of a future that no one can imagine, it remains controversial to its inhabitants. One driver told me all the infrastructure development marked as modern or smart is only masking the reality of what is happening in the country. It's a facade of promises. Another driver proclaimed, "We don't need this, we need peace." So I asked, the science museum, which is considered by the government as smart infrastructure, can be really considered as being smart? In my opinion, I don't think so. In my opinion, smart city must prioritizing being citizen-centered first and use technology to support this smartness, not the other way around. However, I don't want to be solely pessimistic. I believe that smart cities can also bring positive opportunities to urban dwellers, informal ones. I believe this can be achieved through developing digital platforms which are creating systems, and these platforms can partially supplement missing services in the city which are missing because they are missing in terms of infrastructure. There are already some platforms in Addis Ababa providing services to its citizens, such as Deliver Addis, Right, Telebir, or Fares. Some of them are delivering food, some of them are providing like loans, establishing digital currency, or they are kind of synonym to Uber. I reviewed multiple platforms, and I would like to present 3 of them, which can improve the access to services to the life of informal dwellers. So, what platforms can catalyze the evolution of informal settlements? So the first one which I picked is Visor, which provides weather and climate information, notifying its inhabitants about upcoming natural disasters to help mitigate the destructive effects of the heavy rains or flooding or droughts. So basically they receive a notification on their phone, or sometimes by the community leader receives the notification on his smartphone, and then he can warn the community that heavy rain is, for example, coming, so they can fix their roofs or kind of move precious things away that they wouldn't lose everything. Another one is Digital One. So basically there is no public transportation in the city, and 54% of inhabitants rely on walking, what is basically almost the percentage of the people living in informal settlements. So there is some parallel, and people rely on walking because they can't afford to use the private transportation. So under the proposed system, so this Digital One, under the proposed system, users with smartphones could book a ride in real time, and the system is designed to pick up passengers going in roughly the same direction in the same time vehicle. Of course, there is a problem that not everyone owns the phone, but the percentage of, but it's one of the things which people really invest in when they can. And another example are chatbots. So only 2% of the urban fabric is dedicated to education, and 1% is dedicated to healthcare. Education and healthcare services are not free, causing access problems. The last platform, how these chatbots can be used can be easily demonstrated in case of, for example, cholera, which is caused by poor sanitation practices and often affects children. There are quite often pandemics of like cholera in the town, and children usually die from dehydration because their parents do not provide enough liquids, mistakenly thinking it is not important since the children are vomiting most of them. This lack of proper hydration leads to severe dehydration, leading to death. And here, because they don't have access to the healthcare system and they can't afford to take the children there, they basically have no way how to find this information. So using a chatbot, at least like in the community, this can be a way how can get at least like general information about the problems. So now, in conclusion, I believe and plan to focus on this topic more in my research, as I'm still in the first year of my PhD, and that the smart city concept can bring both multiple opportunities and threats. Viewing smart cities solely through the lens of tangible legacies can lead to the massive displacement of informal dwellers. However, understanding smart cities as platforms that can supplement shortages in services can lead to the natural evolution of informal settlements. Smart cities can act as a catalyst for economic development and upgrade of them if multiple conditions are met. Nevertheless, the evolution of informal settlements cannot be the only tool for urban development. It must be combined with other decisions, such as building tangible schools and tangible healthcare clinics. So this is it. Thank you very much. And here are some resources.